Well, hello everybody, or Michael, I hope hello everybody. Rumble says we're live, so let's hope we're live.
Well, yeah. Greetings, fellow thought criminals. Thank you for joining all of us tonight on the inaugural episode of He Said, She Said.
Yes, he said, wait, is my camera correct here? Hold on. No, he said, and she said, okay. Yes, we started thinking about this very exact show with the same graphics and name more than 2.5 years ago, Michael, right?
Yeah, it's been a little while.
Yes, and then life got in the way. Life really got in the way. And then before the holiday season started, I called Michael and I said, "You know what, Michael? We got to do this. One way or another, we got to do this." And we did it. Well, we were planning to start next week, but then we're like, why wait another week? Let's just get on. So today is actually, as you can normally you see on Michael's show or my show, we have lower thirds and logos and fancy intros and stuff. Nothing today. It's just me and Michael. I'm sorry, he and she and you guys. And
Exactly.
this is the clip version. This specific program, which will be weekly every Wednesday, Lord willing, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, myself and Michael Lauber. Uh, it's non there is no topic, there is no angle, there is no corner. We're just gonna talk. And it's very much, I would say, Michael, probably it's gonna be very audience oriented. The more you guys talk to us, the more we stay around. We don't have a set time. It's not a 20-minute show or an hour show or 5 hour show. We're just gonna go as long as you guys are engaging and you're there. We are right now streaming on 2x accounts. I should probably give the handles. Live Up to Freedom, one. The other one is at X America News. At X America News. We are on, I think, two Rumble channels, which is again my Rumble channel, ACU News, and Lou Dobbs Media Rumble channel. We're also live on my Facebook channel. We're also live on two YouTube channels, which is Live Up to Freedom and ACU News. I think that's it, right, Michael? Am I missing any other?
That sounds about right. And yeah, we'll be watching the chat, especially if you're here on Rumble. It'll pop right onto our screen. So if you've got any questions, comments, anything like that, send them on in. We're going to get to them as quick as possible.
And I will keep an eye on the other side of comments, which will be coming in from, I think, YouTube channels and a couple other channels, Facebook also, I think. But anyways, it's us. We're not gonna sit here now. Michael Lauber and Derek Evans, they have their own show Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. They cover a lot of politics, a lot of tyranny involved.
Yeah.
My show is, Live Up to Freedom Tuesdays and Thursdays. And all of these shows are all the channels we just mentioned. It's all on all of them. I mainly cover, as you know, Islamization, red green axis, Sharia, oppression of women and children on the Sharia. So this one goes wherever it goes. we we already covered those specifically, or we focus on those on the separate shows, but for this one, the main goal, Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember correctly from 2.5 years ago, was uh, we have forgotten, or the society, especially thanks to LGBTQ movement, the balance have shifted. The line has blurred to where there is a difference. There is a huge gap between being a she and being a he. And nobody talks about, we don't come out as our own point of view. We either relate to a political party as a Republican, as a conservative, as a leftist. But the base, which is a woman versus a man, seem to be not there anymore. Right, Michael?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where we're going to look at primarily social issues. And yeah, sometimes that will kind of dip its toe into politics. Like even a few of the stories we're going to cover tonight are primarily a social issue. But yeah, there's a little bit of a political angle on one part of it or another. But the idea is to get people talking again about the social issues that shape our fabric as a country, the things that unite us, the things that pull us apart. and how our culture here as Americans is evolving, and look at things that are in the news that shouldn't always be viewed through a political lens. So, like one of the stories we're going to get into tonight is going to be these fires in California, and we want to talk about the underlying causes, what's happening now, how that's affecting people's lives, and not just the political aspect of it.
Well, you know what? Let's dive into that. I know you have way more update than I do, so you open the discussion. What's happening with those fires?
Well, last I saw, they're now at over 9,000 acres of area burned in Southern California. It's the Palisades are basically gone, and it's creeping its way towards Los Angeles. And there's a lot that makes this story interesting. Part of why it's so bad are the hydrants are running dry, and this is due to both budget cuts from LA. The mayor there slashed the fire department's budget recently, and then it's also they've cut off water access because of a 3-inch fish called a Delta smelt. So now they don't have water to the fire hydrants where it's desperately needed, because of these decisions that have been made that put Gaia first over humanity. And that's part of the problem with the way, nobody wants dirty air and water. We don't want companies dumping waste or putting pollutants out into the rivers or anything like that. But a lot of the policy that we see now through the EPA ignores humans' needs and instead focuses on this, 3-inch fish. It's not in danger. That's in other places in the country, but they think that using the water for the city will destroy its habitat, and that leads to things like this: a wildfire that's out of control, and all the other angles that have just turned this into the nightmare that it's becoming. I'm sure you guys have probably seen the videos that are floating around right now of them having to use bulldozers to clear homeless encampments that are built up on the highway so people can evacuate. There's another video, and if you're not going to address mental illness, there's another video that a woman put up. I'm not sure if she's a firefighter or she's somebody that follows and documents what the firefighters are doing there in LA, but she put up a video of a homeless woman going around setting fires while all this was going. And we don't know that that's the root cause yet, but even if this is just something that's adding to it with the high winds and everything else, they don't need any additional help. This situation is bad enough as it is. And I know this evening, starting right about now, actually, they're expecting more high winds to come in. And that's, again, leads to another problem where it's going to jump the fire barriers. Hot embers are going to fly off from where it's currently burning. They're going to land into another area. And then another fire springs up. And the whole area is a tinderbox. I mean, this is bad. It's getting a lot of attention, but this situation could go catastrophic in no time.
Well, here's the thing. As you know, I spent 13 years of my life in Los Angeles, California. And I do remember every time that it was burning down one way or another. And every time there was one excuse or another for it to spreading wider, and not enough power, not enough manpower, not enough water, not enough this. This is literally an ongoing. Again, I have been out of LA for 8 years, 13 years before that, 20 years, 21 years. It's literally a never ending issue. And I hear you when you say it's getting a lot of attention. But Michael, it always gets a lot of attention for a while until the next thing that needs to take over our life or minds through our eyes kicks in, which we both know very soon here on the 20th. That's the next thing, maybe the 19th.
Yeah.
But I feel like as a society, as a we the people, we're at a point where the numbness, comfortably numb. I was watching, as you know, there's a new show that I'm hooked on, and I'm not, because I don't know what the copyright laws are. I'm not going to even mention the name of it, but uh, one of the episodes recently, one of the agents, FBI agents, loses a good friend, and she's asked, "How are you doing?" And she says, "Grieving, confused, and numb." And it hit me. I'm like, hey, that's how we all feel in America today. We're
Yeah.
all grieving, we're confused, and we're numb. And the
Yeah.
same thing with these fires or hurricanes or tsunamis, or, because they're natural disasters. Are they natural disasters? I don't know. At this point, I really don't know, Michael.
Yeah, that's another story, or another potential angle on this is whether or not some of this isn't manipulated, because the fires in Hawaii and the hurricane that hit North Carolina, Those are both highly suspicious. You don't usually get a hurricane that goes up into the mountains. That seems a little odd. Um, and especially, to hit an area that they recently found out is lithium rich, that there could be a huge potential for mining operations there, that could help bring some of these resources here at home. And then suddenly they get a hurricane, these small towns are all wiped out. Um, so there are other angles to look at there, but I think numb is the underlying word, because I think that's how a lot of us are. It's kind of been a joke, and a running joke, really, like how many once in a lifetime historical events have we lived through just in the last 12 months? And there's been so many, like we've literally forgotten about some of them. And it's this constant accelerationism too. Like you said, people focus on something for a short term, like the tragedy in California right now. That'll be a headline for the next few days, but then it's going to shift to something else. But the people there will still be suffering, just like they are in North Carolina. I mean, a lot of these people in North Carolina just went through Christmas in the middle of winter, living in a tent still in FEMA's, pulling up anchor, and they're already moving on elsewhere. Not that they have any money to do anything with, but that's yet another story. But we forget about the people, the human cost, the tragedy, and what really happened, and the assistance they're going to need to get back on their feet. The problem's still ongoing in California. People aren't out of danger yet, so it's something we still need to keep our eyes on. But we can't forget about the people after this tragedy's over with.
Very true. And quick review of the comments, and we will get to that in a minute. S Bow 311 from X says she's not black. I know that was the whole point. That the title, for those of you who might be watching at a platform like Facebook that you don't see the title of this feed, it's the history made the first black woman to certify her own loss. That was the whole point. She wanted to be black, so we might as well say the first black woman to lose. um Eric Matthew on Facebook, hello to you too. Happy New Year to you as well. Um, William, as always, Happy New Year to you. I had a comment here. Okay. Um, Raphael on Facebook says, no water thanks to the eco terrorist.
Yep.
I don't dig into that much, but I will 100% agree with what he said. They played a huge role under the whole, they're supposed to be the good guys, right? But they're not.
Yeah, and that's something we really dug into this morning, because that is at the heart of this tragedy. And I guess there was a very recent development that shut off access to, I can't remember if it was a spillway or if it was one path that they would have had to get water into the Palisades specifically was cut off recently because of this environmental nonsense for this Delta smelt. But that's what leads to where we're at now. We don't know how many lives were lost yet. I'm sure it's going to be far worse than we know of so far. But this is why you have to put humans first, humanity first. You can't do things that make no sense. I don't want animals, hunted to extinction or dirty air and water, like I said, but we can't let environmentalism get in the way of safety for humans or what's best for humanity.
Very true. And talk about, a lot of events that we may not even remember. I personally guilty. Eric Matthew on Facebook says Hawaii 2.0 equals California. Very true.
Yeah.
Right there. Very quick. I mean, the Hawaii situation got a lot of coverage, right? And then suddenly, poof, doesn't exist. And I personally, until I saw his comment, I'm guilty. I forgot all about that. Well, not forgot. You know what I mean by forgot. It wasn't the first
Yeah.
thing that popped in my head every morning when I woke up.
Yeah.
And this is going to be exactly the same thing. We still don't. So to this day, if I understand correctly, we still don't have a reasonable reasoning behind why it got so out of control. I mean, I'm not talking about the excuses we heard. A lot of people have not resettled into normal life yet. A lot of people lost everything they had, and there was no help, even a glimpse of help. So again, repeating what you said and what I said, numb.
Yeah.
That's like a pat. I feel like, Michael, we're hamsters, right? They have trained us in the hamster wheel, and we feel like we're not. But when we talk about things like this, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely trained. Running the circle, the
Yeah.
wheel.
Well, you're exactly right, and that is what we see happening. Is we move on to the next news story, and that is normal to a certain extent, but I do feel like a lot of this is artificial. Like we're artificially being led to whatever the next talking point, whatever the new narrative is, that we just completely forget about the people in Hawaii or Palestine, Ohio, or North Carolina, and then we focus on the next tragedy. We
Mhm.
completely forget about the people there. They never really do get the help they need to recover. Nothing's been done in East Palestine yet. There's still chemicals in the ground. Nothing. Zero. They gave people in South Carolina $700, and they threw the Amish out that were building them homes because they didn't know if they were up to code or not. Um, it's not just that they don't resolve the problem and they don't fulfill their obligations as FEMA to help Americans in times of tragedy due to natural or unnatural disasters. It isn't just that. It's they basically just don't care, and people were reliant on them. I mean, it does illustrate a bigger point that you can't rely on the federal government for help, but we still, our taxes pay for this. People deserve something in response to a disaster. And unfortunately, I think California is going to be forgotten about, just like North Carolina, East Palestine, and Hawaii.
Exactly. And by the way, this is very irrelevant, but since this is a he said, she said, I just realized, wow, what a bad hair I am experiencing today. I just looked at this, I'm like, is that my hair's looking like? Oops. Anyways,
Ah, it looks fine to me. But
thank
again,
you.
I'm wearing a hat, so
Yes, and again, not to completely change the topic because I do want to read Josh on YouTube comment. Well, let me read that and then I'll go back to this. Josh says climate change, quote unquote, climate change, according to Bernie Sanders and Gavin Newsom is what he meant to say, but I'm not going to read what he said, is what is causing the fires, not mismanagement. Seeing it all over X, leftists just can't get it through their heads, apparently. Josh, I will personally, Michael, you give your feedback. I will personally agree with about 95% of what you said there, but I will say it's not just the left. It is time to stop the leftist blame straight up 100%. You really think there are Republicans out there who are playing a role in this? Do you really think all the Republicans out there are doing their job and they're all America first and they're fantastic? They're not. So
no.
I agree. This whole climate change thing is just a joke. That's a different topic to discuss. But one of the main purposes of this show actually is to stop the blindly pointing finger at Democrats. No more. At least I'm done doing that. I am putting my brush down and I'm done sitting and bragging about how good my side is and how bad their side is. We're going to call it the way it is. At least I will. All
Yeah.
yours, Michael.
Well, yeah, and I agree. I think there's a lot of there are a lot of Republicans out there that have been exploiting this same thing, the environmental lobby money, that then vote along with it. That's why we end up with windmills in Iowa and other places that are eyesores, aren't maintained, fall apart, don't produce the power they promise, take much more energy to produce, and then end up in a landfill because they're basically made of fiberglass and other materials that can't be recycled, doesn't decompose, and just causes more problems. Let's not even get into the diesel generators and all that it takes to spin them up and keep them going. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I think the rhinos, a lot of the Republicans or the Republicans that are more aligned with the deep state or the inside are a bigger threat than the Democrats. They're the ones that constantly stab us in the back. Speaker Johnson, cut deals and then for no apparent reason reach across the aisle to walk Hakeem Jeffries and then give the Democrats what they want. This is I think one of the biggest problems is we don't really have a unified front, and surprisingly, there's a few Democrats out there that are starting to see the picture, like Fetterman. We covered a story from him earlier today that he's been out there pointing out that, actually, he's been trying to help them find Democrats in the Senate to move through some of this legislation to remove illegal aliens who are already criminals, sex offenders, and people we clearly don't want in the country. And he's not sure he can find 6 more people to go along with him in case they try to filibuster. You would think we could at least agree on that
Mhm.
we don't need people invading the country that are murderers, sex offenders, drug dealers, things like that we've already caught within our borders. But unfortunately, when everything's political, everything's a battle, even things like this, which we should be able to fall into alignment on, regardless of political party, and do what's best for the country. But there's not enough people like that. And I always give the example going back to the 1980s with Tip O'Neill. You know, he and Ronald Reagan battled it out on plenty of things, but when something happened where they needed to be in alignment, like say a bunch of college students getting kidnapped and held hostage in Grenada, suddenly they come together, they put their differences aside, and they do what they need to save the country and to save our college students and others that were down there being held hostage.
Exactly. Comment by Ann G from YouTube. There is a highly effective fire suppressant gel called fire ice. If my eyes are reading that correct, or fireless. Anyways, can be sprayed with a hose or even dropped from a plane. Why isn't LA County using this? Well, because if they use it, and then problem solved.
Yeah.
They don't want to solve the problem. This isn't the only example of problems could be solved. There are at least 5 million things me and Michael can talk about right now that the solution is right there, like literally push a button, a simple figure of a speech, and problem is solved. But bottom line is chaos, disasters, issues, problems. That's how most of these people stay in power, because it's the fact that, well, we got too much issues going on. We need to let them sort it out, and money is a factor, right, Michael? Follow the money.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a big part of it. Something like that, being prepared. A story we've seen more and more over the last few years, not related to the fires, but related to basic winter, preparedness. A lot of cities can't afford salt and other chemicals they need for the road just for normal conditions. California has been in a budget deficit for years now. Their spending's out of control on some of these social programs and things. And then when it comes time for what they really need, your basic city services, firefighters, police, stuff like that, the coffers are empty. The well is dry and there's no more money. And then there's tragedies like this, or the escalating crime and everything else that we've seen in LA, San Francisco, and the surrounding area. It's symptoms from a much larger problem.
Josh says, why don't Democrat cities, this was a response to Angie's comment, but says, why don't Democrat cities do anything that makes sense? It goes back to the same answer, but again, I will correct this because I really am on a mission. We're not turning this one show into Democrats bad. So, Palestine, Ohio, Josh, Ohio is a pretty red state. And the Palestine area isn't Democrat, full on blue LA style either. So again, it comes back to, it's not about the color of the party, the name of the party. There are areas that are being targeted. Some have been targeted for longer, like California. Well, I should say, even in California, I should say San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles County for sure, or New York area or New Jersey. Some areas are heavily targeted. So again, it comes back to, yes, they're all bad people, but what have we done to counter it? How many times have we fired them? How many times did we hold them accountable? Except, as Michael said, just talking about it, complaining about it, there hasn't been a genuine action big enough with united enough number of people of America to make a dent, at least for the last 20 years.
Yeah, and to go to your example in Ohio, a small town like East Palestine obviously does not have a budget or the funding for the kind of cleanup they need. That's where you go to the state government. But even though we've got a Republican governor here in Ohio, the guy's about as rhino as you get, and again spends a lot of the state money is waste on these social engineering programs, putting up a new mural to George Floyd or whatever other nonsense they want to do. And when there is a real disaster like this, they're caught with their pants down. They suddenly can't come up with the resources they need to help these poor people in this small town. And then eventually people just kind of forget about it. And that's kind of the pattern that happens is, when there's when the next election cycle starts, it'll be totally forgotten about, or maybe they'll finally do something about it then. And that'll be their chance to finally, they'll go out there, get their little photo op done, maybe help some people out. But that I mean, the cancer rates are going to explode. There's already been huge costs and environmental damage, damage to animals, wildlife, livestock, people in the area, and even just the cleanup in general. This area, we still don't know if it's safe. I mean, we know people personally that live 30 plus miles from there that had all their livestock die as well. Not to mention the stuff went down a creek, so we don't know what the total costs and consequences are, but it's not convenient to talk about it in the news. The story's over with. We've moved on, so they get forgotten about.
Exactly. We need to retrain our system up here and down here. That's the heart I'm pointing at. The one we confusing. We gotta reprogram that. We need to go back to something I want to talk about today, but we need to realize that if our values don't match our behavior, then they're not our values. They're just the slogans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's give a shout out quickly to YouTube. PM Impur, good to have you here. And then let me address this with Josh. Says, well, I know there are rhinos as well, but it's spearheaded by Democrats and leftists. That is what I mean, even if I don't say it. But that's my point, Josh. We gotta stop. Listen, we have played a huge role in this division. Either we like to hear it or not. We have. Because we have this giant brush that always and always paints the Democrats bad, Democrats evil, left evil, left evil. Listen, I have friends, registered Democrats, who are not evil. They are good people. They're my friends. And Michael can vouch for the fact that I'm very picky on who's my friend,
Yeah.
who I allow in my house. It does this is stereotyping, painting all of them as one. No, the Republican Party has played just as much role in destruction of America by not pushing back, by not voting rights. It's not always. My grandma always, Michael said, it's not about who has started it; it's who carried it over the line.
Yeah. And to Josh's point, like in some areas, like California, is kind of an extreme example where it is just totally out of control, and it is primarily Democrats. But you look in Washington D.C., it's people on both parties creating the problems that we're in today, and we all know it too. We've seen the statements from John Thune, who's now in charge of the Senate or will be, and he's just as useless as the left are. He's un-American, anti-American, really, and is more of a globalist. That's part of the difference. It isn't just about political parties, but yes, Josh, to your point, there are certain areas where it is 100% one-sided and lopsided, and the corruption in California is part of what's led to this. But it isn't the whole story everywhere. And I firmly believe the rhinos in the Republican Party are a bigger danger to making America great again, putting America first, than the Democrats are, because they're the saboteurs that stab us in the back at the last minute when we really need them to move the agenda forward.
Exactly. By the way, Michael, Eric Matthews also from Ohio. He just said from Ohio. I don't know where, but he's got a great point. Another thing that I, again, guilty of fading it away from my head is the train's derailments. They kind of
Yeah.
went away too. Like, shush, 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 shush. Okay, it's done. Let's throw the next topic out there. But since we've been on air for about 25 minutes or so, I really want to take this back to what we titled the show and connect that to my bad hair day. And yes, Josh, I am grateful I have hair. He made a comment like she complains about her hair. And she should be happy she has hair. I have a lot of it actually. But let's talk about this. It's funny. I know. It's hilarious where you have to stand there, be Kamala, and certify um, your
Yeah,
own
her
loss,
loss.
right? It's tragically hilarious. But what made it for me, Michael, what made it that much more funny was the fact that by a standard of society, Michael, not
Mhm.
everyone, but by majority picture of society, good or bad, we have got to a point where the importance of results are not as important as making history for the country anymore.
Yes.
With that, they were so sure that just having this woman who identifies as a black woman, who cannot describe what a woman is 10 minutes before becoming the candidate,
Yes.
this woman, just being a woman, is enough for her to take the victory. The results, of course, proved them wrong, which I was very proud to know that the people understand putting food on the table for our families and having a roof over our head is way more important than making history to have the first Madam President. But the I don't want to say brainwash, but the systematic shift of mindset is really scary to where being a woman has become a weapon, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a big problem that our country's priorities has shifted from what is best, who is the most capable leader, who has the best plan for America, to, as you said, making history. Uh, Voting for someone based on factors that shouldn't matter in the equation, like their race, their gender, their whatever, these characteristics about a person that should be 100 down on the list as to what's important. What should matter is their vision for America, their plan, what they want to, how they want to execute things in a way that is both in line with our Constitution, will build us up, will make the world safer, and will create new opportunity for all Americans. But instead, a lot of people now view having this historic first, the first woman, the first left-handed pansexual leprechaun to do that. All these factors that mean nothing. They mean literally zero in comparison to the power that you're giving them. So we need to get our priorities straight again. It's great if the first, what I say a second ago, left-handed pansexual leprechaun becomes the first congressman from Idaho, as long as that person is the most qualified, they have the best vision for America. And if somebody believes they're a pansexual leprechaun, they're probably not the best person for anything, because they clearly have a mental dysfunction going on. But you're not allowed to say that anymore.
No, we're not. It's okay. Let me now go back to the hair thing, my hair day. Looking at it as a woman, um, a journalist, host, producer, conservative, Christian, the level of pressure that's on us. I kid you not, Michael. I genuinely, the other day, as you know, I got the gray going on, so I can just put whatever color on top of my head, which normally is red. That's where I go with it. The other day, I was sitting there and I'm like, I bet you, girl, to myself, because I talk to myself. And you have always told me it's okay as long as I don't lose an argument to myself. I'm not
That's
crazy.
right. That's right.
I'm sitting, I'm like, girl, I bet you if you would actually pick the color blue, which is one of my favorite colors, I wear a lot of blue. I do a lot of blue makeup. I'm like, if you would pick blue and put it on your head, 80% of your supporters would dump you because your color is now matching what the progressive social warriors have stolen from society. I'm like, if you would do this, if you would do, there is so much marking going on that as a conservative Christian journalist woman, we actually feel, Michael. We have to be dressed up. We have to have our hair done. We have to be representable. Now, I love doing that anyways, but the pressure of it being a requirement
Yeah.
gotten to where you wake up and you're like, I'm going to skip my show. Behind the scene, I've told you many times that I'm not going to do my show today because I don't have the time to do my hair. It's
Yeah.
like we have allowed them still our rainbow, still our gorgeous blue and purple. I love purple again. We have allowed them to take away the if you don't wear the most desirable blouse or suit, then you're not a feminine female. We have allowed all of that to put pressure on our side, and I'm not happy with that.
Yeah. Well, some of these, like, again, I don't wear suits anymore. I've made that a thing that I had to for years when I was still in the staffing industry for all these meetings. I'm just not doing it anymore. And I think that's the way it should be. I'd rather be laid back and comfortable if I'm going to be in front of the camera for an hour talking to the internet. I'm not going to dress like a slob or roll out of bed and show up with a t-shirt with mustard stains on it or anything like that. But the high standard or false standard for no reason is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed. And again, because one of the reasons I wanted this to be he said, she said, so I can complain as a woman. I'm being a woman right now, people. I'm complaining. And again, the double standard, even on our side, is it's very acceptable.
Yeah,
Yourself, Derek Evans, Dan Bongino, I don't know, you name them. Guys are okay. It's okay. You can have a hat and a t-shirt and some sort of political statement on it, and you're good to go. But when it comes to the female side, I get it. It's very pleasant. It's been proven that conservative women are always more representable,
yeah,
presentable. Uh,
presentable.
but we have drawn so many thick lines around that I feel like we need to slow down a little bit, or listen to the message more than we look at I know we're humans. We like to look at pretty things and dolled up things and all that, but the message is fading away. This isn't coming just from me. I have talked to other female journalists out there who say, sometimes I feel like it's better if I'm just doing something audio only so people will pay more attention. Because if it's
Yep.
not you're gorgeous, it's why do you look like this? And so it's like your nose is too big, your eyebrows not plugged. There is so much picking on the face that our message is kind of fading away. No,
Yeah.
nobody's listening to the words anymore.
Well, you're right. There is a double standard there. I can show up like you said in a t-shirt and jeans like I do most days, and nobody bats an eye. But if a lot of women were to come on, wearing something similar, people would be asking questions or wondering if something was wrong, or why you couldn't bother to do your hair today or whatever. And having these two different standards. Sorry, I've been sneezing and coughing all day, so I apologize. Um, but it's a totally different standard for men versus women in that respect, especially in in conservative journalism. And to a certain extent, I don't know that that's a problem. There's an easy fix for, because I think it is something that's also like ingrained in us, where it's almost an expectation that shouldn't actually be there.
Well, I did come up with a solution with the fellow host. I'm like, you know what? Why don't we just start breaking the walls around us, and gradually people will get used to it. And again, I'm not saying we're gonna show up, looking crazy,
Yeah, like
because I know there is such a thing as looking crazy. I've
yeah,
seen
you don't
looking
you,
crazy.
you don't want to show up looking like you parked your shopping cart outside with your 12 dozen cats before you went into film.
Exactly. Three is enough for me, at least for now. But, just gradually, and I've done it. There has been time when I've done a live show on Facebook when I'm just sitting on my couch and I pretty much have my hair up and nothing else with a t shirt. But again, I have been criticized for it. But if we toughen up, let the criticism pass, it can be, gradually to you see, I'm even the person who hold myself accountable. I kept giving into this really high expectation. Now it's up to me. I can gradually lower this expectation, the standard, within respect, of course. Again, I don't agree with certain things people were, personal opinion. Other people, if they want to sit in front of the camera naked, it's their choice, not mine. By the way, we have a testimony from California. This is on Lou Dobbs Media Rumble channel 2022 Rumble. Says, as a Californian, I can say loud and clear that Democrats are actively destroying California. 2022 Rumble, I can say from a former Californian myself of 13 years of life in California, I hate to say it, I don't think they're destroying California at this point. I think they have destroyed California, or what is left of California.
Yeah, at this point, a meteor impact might actually be an improvement out there. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, like I kind of alluded to earlier, like there's definitely examples like California or New York where it is one party, it's one sided, and unfortunately that has led to the area's downfall. But across the board, there's plenty of examples of evil on both sides that needs to be addressed. Evil, or the banality of evil, the failure to do good. Um, but yeah,
Let me read Scott's comment from Facebook real quick. Great point. Says, if Featherman can wear hoodies in Congress, it can work anywhere. Exactly my point. Again, I'm not trying to say, or I think I'm picking on our side a little too much today, but that's all right. They don't have these standards. Now, again, they take it too far, but at
Yeah.
least they have allowed people to be able to kind of sort of not stress over that and stress over more important stuff. And agreed. Actually, I think Featherman looks pretty good. I can't think of him looking good in anything except hoodies. Not trying to be mean, but it's just hoodies the only thing that looks good on that guy.
I'll be honest, the hoodie and shorts is a little too far for me for a member of Congress to show up for every day. But they wanted to, you wanted to show up in, in a collared shirt and khaki pants instead of the suit and tie or the dress or whatever. Then I think that's fine. But sorry, a hoodie and gym shorts, and you're a member of Congress representing your district. That doesn't, to me at least, doesn't come across like you're taking the job very seriously.
Yes, but I will still take that over someone who walks in Congress wearing a Palestinian chefia around their neck.
Yeah, or
If
is pushed in
anybody's
a
missing who
wheelchair.
I'm talking about Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah, or anybody that's pushed in a wheelchair by their aides because they're incoherent and their brains succumbed to Alzheimer's a long time ago, but they need their vote to get that bill through. So you're going to keep them in Congress till they're 138.
Drawing a blank on the guy's name or the person who kind of dies and then you have to wait for him to come back to life. What's his
Yeah,
name?
Mitch the
Oh,
glitch
yeah.
McConnell, who cocaine Mitch, he shorted out again the other day and had to be pulled off whatever, but we don't have video of it this time.
Yes. Well, we don't have anything today. It's like we just stepped into Rumble Stadium, like, let's do this, which so far it's looking pretty good. So I'm not really sure. I mean, it's a good thing.
Well, I bet
But,
he glitched out in private this time. There were no cameras present. Otherwise, I would have been
oh,
running it.
gotcha. So this was private. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, they were behind closed doors talking about something with, I think it was swearing in new members of Congress. I might have that wrong. And I guess he stroked out again, blue screened in front of everybody, and then had to be shuffled off to wherever they go to update his factory programming.
True, and we have a shout out to give here. The man, the myth, the one and only Derek Evans says, "I don't care what he wears if he keeps saying the things he has been saying." LOL. Agreed,
Yeah,
Derek. You see, he gets it. Derek gets
yeah,
it. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing, how my makeup looks like, how my hair looks. It's about what we say. It's about the message. Thank you,
yeah.
Derek. See, Derek gets me.
And again, we've said this a bunch of times. I'll give Fetterman this. I don't know if it's after he stroked out for the third time or what exactly happened, but he definitely came back with some more common sense and a spine. He stood up to the pro-Hamas wing of the Democrat Party plenty of times when it comes to immigration and other issues. He appears to have some common sense and wants to do what's best for America, not just what would be a beneficial to his political party. And that's the kind of person we need more of. I would much rather have a dozen Kristen Sinemas and Joe Manchins on the Democrat Party, people that aren't there just to push a political agenda, that do have some level of common sense and will reach across the aisle when it's blatantly obvious what's best for the American people. But instead, half of Congress now is filled with moonbats that don't seem to have any common sense and are only concerned about this globalist and LGBTQ plus agenda stuff that they're the rabid part of their base wants.
Absolutely. Sahara the Free on YouTube chat. Happy belated Merry Christmas and happy belated New Year to you as well. She is an ex-Muslim, stating no Islamization here in America. Amen to that. That is the topic for tomorrow's show. Live Up to Freedom Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. On all of these channels where we will talk Islamization, especially right now. I know I have not even started to talk about the attacks, New Year's Eve, and on, but that is for Live Up to Freedom show. Derek Evans and Michael Lauer, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, every Monday through Friday. I already said that. The Insurrection, you can find them on all of these channels and also Patriot TV as well, where they actually deep dig a little deeper into political issues of our time. But let's talk about that, what you just closed on, Michael. LGBTQ movement.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, I actually have friends who are gay, right?
Yeah.
But them themselves have detached themselves from the LGBTQ never ending alphabet soup
Yeah.
because They themselves says this is not what we're about. And earlier on, you said if somebody wants to identify as whatever they want, I can't even repeat what you said. Left-handed, short-handed, bald
Uh,
leprechaun
left
guy.
left-handed pansexual leprechaun.
There you go, that one. I don't know why I thought they are bald. Maybe because they're
They might
leprechaun.
be. They might be. I don't know.
Anyways, I don't care. Be whomever you want to be. I really don't care. The problem is when you wanting to be whatever you want to be becomes a movement, and then from there becomes a shove it down my throat, take away my freedoms. That's when the human society starts struggling. And I am aware. I know enough about history to know this isn't a new thing. This doesn't just happen. It has happened before. But right now, but you tell me how you feel about all of this, Michael. But as a woman, this is coming again straight from biology of being a woman. I feel like I can't find my place in society. Do I need to be the a strong, successful, career-oriented woman, or do I need to be the fragile, poor thing, can't even pull her pants up woman? Do I need to be the one who knows how? I mean, I know how to change my flat tire, but when other lights go on, I just park the car and run because I don't know anything. You see what? It's so confusing to be a woman.
Yeah.
What am I? I can describe a woman, don't get me wrong, but inside the society, especially here in America, I don't know where I belong anymore as a woman.
Well, I think that's again, part of the problem why society seems to be going so crazy right now is there is a place for gender roles, and as you've had women basically being erased throughout the trans movement as that's heated up, and again, the problem isn't people who happen to be gay or bi or whatever. Now, I'll be honest, I think when you get into the trans stuff, you are talking mental illness at that point. But nobody cares what two adults do. That's their own business. What we don't want is this getting brought into classrooms, children being exposed to it, especially at a young age where it's entirely unnecessary. The parents want to have a conversation with their kids, fine, whatever, but it doesn't need to be forced down their throats in an official capacity in a classroom. That's the underlying problem. Yeah, we and I both, we have friends who happen to be gay, but their being gay isn't what's important about them. That's just one factor. They are who they are, and they're good people. But they're also not trying to exploit children or anything like that, or we wouldn't have anything to do with them.
Exactly. Derek Evans, good night. He had to run, bedtime for kids. So thanks for popping in. Also, Adarius 23 on Rumble. Yes, we do realize she's an even black, and that was the whole point of naming
Yeah.
the show.
Well, it depends what day of the week is. Some days she's black, some days she's Indian, some days she's Jamaican. I saw an article where she was Asian. So it's whatever role they need her to fill. She is a cornucopia of identities.
Yes, exactly. And Sahara, I would definitely love to do an extra space with you or a space on X with you. If you don't mind, shoot me an email, liveuptofreedom@gmail.com. Let's coordinate that and we will get on that space and talk Islamization.
Well,
Um,
pretty soon Kamala's going to identify as an unemployed alcoholic, but that's just my opinion.
well, here, okay. Okay, I am trying to stay away from politics, but let me ask you this. The way things are going, she may not be unemployed soon. She might actually manage to become California's governor. What say you?
Why does God want to punish California like that? That's what I have to say.
Because Californians are not really by majority hating the
Yes.
sin.
Yeah, exactly. Look, if that's what they really want, and they want to promote somebody who did so much harm to their state while she was the AG, you can't fix stupid sometimes. You can't make people get out of their own way. We can try to warn them as much as possible, and there's a lot of good people out there like Tom Del Picaro and many others that'll be sounding the alarms, but that may not be enough. They may put her in a position as governor just because she's a woman who was vice president, who has experience as a lawyer, and because she's brat or whatever it was over summer.
Yes, and actually earlier on the comments I saw, I think it was Eric Matthew who said, "Can we hurry up?" Well, it was either Josh or Eric. Sorry guys if I'm getting you confused here, but it said, "Can we hurry up and and switch Canada, uh, trade Canada and California. And I'll agree.
I don't
Even
know. I
though
don't
I
want.
really miss California, the California I moved to, not what it is today. But LA is more specific. I do miss the Los Angeles I moved into, but right now I feel like there is no saving California. I hate when I say that, but it's the truth. They give Kamala that position. Yeah, bye bye California forever.
Yeah.
There is no coming back from that.
Well, California did say that maybe they should, or California, Canada did say, maybe they should buy some of these states like California and Oregon, um, states out west. And I don't really want Canada to be part of the U.S. They're too far gone, too left leaning. 20% of their population now is. Uh, well, I mean, let's put it this way: they just had a caliphate conference is in Canada, so I'm not sure that's somebody I want in our country. But Greenland is looking better and better the more I learn about them. So I, maybe make Greenland the 51st state.
There you go. I would say, even though I have few people in Canada that I love with every bone in my body, but I would say I will also say that no to Canada. I don't think I can put up with the Iranian population in Canada. I know, surprise, surprise. I just can't. Like the number of sons and daughters and nieces and nephews of the mullahs who have moved to Canada, I don't know. I'll get in trouble. I
Yeah,
will.
well, Canada's got a good guy on that could be their next prime minister, the Pierre Paul I can never say this guy's last name, Polive or Poliver or whatever it is. Yeah, he is somebody that could turn Canada around, could get to the bottom of a lot of the problems that they've had. I know some people pointed out that he was in favor of some of the COVID tyranny initially there, but the guy's got a good head on his shoulders, and I think he could get them turned around to a better direction. But they've left their borders open for so long. They brought in so many people from across the Middle East and China and elsewhere that they've got big problems to deal with up there that need to get under control if they do want to make Canada livable again.
And also, one thing he did say that it was a backlash and everybody didn't get what he's saying was when he was asked, "What do you think of Israel attacking Islamic Republic of Iran?" He said they will be doing human society a favor. I mean, I love that answer. By the way, for those who were attacking him, he wasn't saying killing Iranian people as a favor. He was referring to getting rid of the regime, which the people
Yes.
inside Iran would agree with him. But yeah, that on its own right there was a very good answer. Okay, apparently both Josh and Eric did make that comment, so maybe I wasn't getting them confused. I just read it from both. And our military cost billions to take care of Canada, says Eric. Agreed, and that's a topic that I try not to get into so much. But I really don't know why is America godfather of every other country when it comes to protection? Like, come on.
Well, I mean, that is something I think is going to change after Trump's sworn in. He put a lot of pressure on NATO members before to just meet their basic obligations. The same will happen again. But I'll be honest, I think NATO now is more trouble than it's worth. There is a reason to have them around. Well, the Soviet Union was still there, but now Russia shouldn't be our enemy the way we're acting like they are right now. This whole thing with Ukraine is I mean, that could it could be a whole show by itself. But a lot of the problems we have in the world right now are unnecessary and can easily be ended with just simple conversations. The big threat on the there are a number of big threats on the board that it may take some level of violence to resolve. But first, we need to get our own country under control. We need to get our border under control. We need to clean things up here, get rid of all the waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. And then we can worry about the rest of the world's problems.
Exactly. I'm with you on that. It's like I know there's a lot of positive going on, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be the Debbie Downer here. There is not enough positive for us to say, "Yay, we're good. Let's go save other countries or even add other states to the country." Can we figure out our own existing states, please? Because we still have plenty of issues. And I have said this before. I actually respect the fact that President Trump is not a type to step on toes of a state's laws and he lets them handle it. But that right there is a problem because
Yeah.
there's so much President Trump can fix, but then when it comes to state-based laws, still the state issue, and we still need to fix those issues, meaning we have to replace the person in charge in whatever department within the states that is destroying or sabotaging the states.
Yeah.
And hi Lisa, how you doing on YouTube? That is, um, but I want to before we get close to winding down and wrapping up, I want to talk about again something else that's related to he said she said, and you've heard that me say this millions of times, Michael. Um, I did talk about how much pressure is on women, our looks and all that, but I want to also talk about this. Without a doubt, um, every time in the United States of America, there are plenty of stories. Michael, you actually had one person on your show with Derek many times, more than once, the father who's literally fighting tooth and nail to save his son from castration that is being implemented by his own mother,
Yeah,
right?
Jeff Younger.
Jeff Younger. I wasn't sure if you want a name or not, so I didn't. But one thing I want to address outside of politics, again, this has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with us. We have allowed this. I know it's a law, but we have allowed it. Women have abused it. Man has kind of backed down from certain things because they're worried. We are in a country, in the United States of America, that whenever it's a he said, she said, huh, that's the name of our show. She is winning automatically.
Yeah.
One of the main times before politics got so ugly, from day one of 1983, when the last caption or a chapter of rape and sexual abuse laws were signed into, there is now such a thing as marital rape. From there on, every time she points the finger, he's already guilty until proven not guilty.
Yeah. And this is a huge problem, especially when it comes to like family court or even divorce court, that the law hasn't caught up to reality. And, this does kind of go back to the equality argument, or equal rights, I guess, not really equality. But, if people want to be treated equally under the law, then they have to actually be treated equally under the law. And the problem that we have now, especially when it comes to divorce, custody, alimony, child support, is it's almost entirely one-sided or even weighted for in favor of women in so many states. And then there are people like Jeff Younger's ex-wife that will take that and then abuse it to get what they want, even if that's something that's horrible and damaging for their children. That the courts aren't looking at what's best for the kids. A lot of times they have other motivations, and it's also something that's been set up at the federal level. Like there is an incentive for in a divorce with children for the state to demand that there's child support and to put the kids with the less stable parent, even if they both want custody, because the state gets a kickback on the child support processing from the federal government. And this can amount to millions and millions of dollars in the state of Texas. According to Jeff, it was over $500 million that they're getting from the federal government to keep people paying child support.
Yes, and this is so. First things first, as a woman, I am ashamed of fellow women out there who are very knowingly taking advantage of this. Um, it's one thing to get mad at your husband, spouse, boyfriend, whatever partner, whatever term is more proper to use. It's one thing to get mad and be nasty.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. I have witnessed accusation that were absolutely baseless. It never happened. Woman who picked up the phone, called 911 and said he hit me, and he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. It's becoming a little bit to where I'm with other people who say false accusation from women should now be punished. I really hope we come up with that law where if you accuse a man of something, either physical abuse or sexual abuse, whatever it is, and this is coming from someone who's been through it in real life, it is, and that's the second thing. Those of you out there, women, who are making false accusation of sexual harassment or rape, you are it's a spit in our faces. Those of us who had to face that, those
Yeah.
of us who never even got justice. I didn't.
Yeah.
And you freely out there just waving this um, weapon of yours. It's disgusting. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Well, you're exactly right because yeah, it does delegitimize people that have real claims. It's just like false charges of racism or other things. It diminishes instances where it really happens. Like people have thrown around that term so many times now, calling somebody racist. It basically has zero impact now. Nobody cares because people know it's not true. It's just thrown around all over the place. It's the boy that cried wolf. But when you're talking about false allegations of sexual abuse or abuse in general or anything like that, if somebody lies about it, there have to be real consequences, especially if it was the potential like charges were brought. And I'm not talking somebody making an allegation where they then find out they've got the wrong person, or something that was done accidentally or unintentionally. They identified the wrong person. That's not what I'm talking about. But when they intentionally do something like this, making an accusation of sexual abuse or whatever to an ex-husband, or fictitious claims or whatever, we ought to try them as if they committed that crime.
Mhm.
um, because you can wreck somebody's life just with an accusation, and there have to be consequences for it. Whereas now a lot of these cases don't get picked up. Like three-quarters of reported hate crimes are false. Um, and there's almost never repercussions for the people that make these false charges, even though it wrecks lives of people. It can cost them millions of dollars in legal fees, prevent them from getting jobs, get them thrown out of work or whatever else. So there have to be real consequences, or this kind of behavior is going to continue. Right now, it's an exploit to get what you want, and we can't allow it to be that.
Yes, I like what Eric said on the comment Facebook. Marriage needs to be harder to divorce somebody than firing an employee.
Yeah,
Agreed. Absolutely. But you see, it goes back to, again, Michael, it goes back to values. Um, I Meanings have changed. A
yeah,
lot of marriages nowadays, it's a business trade. You're pretty, you're rich, let's get married. You take care of this, I take care of that, let's get married. Again, when now taking it to godless society, you know, traditional values don't have the traditional meanings anymore.
mhm,
It's social media. I crack up and I laugh. And yes, I judge. You have these friends on Facebook who are in a relationship 2 weeks later. It's complicated. 2 weeks later, single. A week later, engaged. You're like, huh? How did that all happen in that a month and a half? But that's where we're at.
yeah. Well, and that you're exactly right. There used to be a value to marriage, whereas now it is more like something of convenience. So I do think it shouldn't, like, no fault divorce laws are part of the problem. We've talked about this before because it's just too easy. That there ought to be some effort to save a marriage before you call it quits. Now, I'm not talking about a situation where there is legitimate abuse, whether that's of physical abuse, emotional abuse, or even somebody that's got a gambling addiction or alcoholic where they're blowing through all your money. I mean, there are definitely situations where divorce is called for, but there's a lot more where things could be saved, or at the very least, an effort to fix things should be made before you just call it quits and run off and then go look for your next relationship to jump into.
I know it's well again. Oh, I'm all over the map today. But when society says this is the new norm and everybody wants to belong, they all jump into the new club. Then it
Yeah,
becomes harder and harder to say, listen, society should not dictate who you are. You dictate what society should be. We got that absolutely upside down.
yeah,
I was talking to a dear friend of mine today, and we were talking about emotions versus logic. And I brought up again another saying of my grandma, who always said in life, now she used a different term related to Iranian food, but I'm going to use American style of it, Americanized version of it. There are, in life, there are circumstances when your logic is the steak, your emotion are the spices. And then there are times when the steak is your emotion and logic becomes the spices. We have lost that track.
yeah,
We are either all emotion or all logic, and that balance is exactly what's causing, and unfortunately majority are all emotion.
yes,
He hurt my feelings. Why? He told me I'm fat. Well, so he was stating the fact.
yeah,
Now, if facts are hurting your feelings, that's all right. You can deal with it. If being fat bothers you, then go lose the weight. If it doesn't bother you, then what is bothering you? You get what I'm saying? It's like it's a mess of emotions, my feelings, my feelings, my feelings. And now we're
Yes.
here. Somebody
Yeah.
looked at me better. I literally had a woman who told me that she left a 14 years of marriage because this coworker um, looked at her, literally physical looking at someone, looked at her with more passion than her husband. I'm like, well, let's wait 14 years and see if he continues looking at you with the same passion.
Yeah. Or maybe try to fix things at home before you just decide to like run off. Usually when marriages fall apart, both parties are to blame. It's usually not totally one sided. Marriages, relationship, whatever else. And that being said, too, you know, there's also the other side of that coin, the people that keep running back to each other no matter how bad things get, that don't seem to understand that generally when things do totally fall apart and people decide to walk away, there's probably a reason for that. And I don't really see most people changing to fix those kind of issues, but that's a whole another story.
Yes, quickly, Evan on YouTube. If you read the whole title, it is exactly it. You'll know why we called her black. It is the sarcasm. I'm starting to think, Michael, maybe I shouldn't pick titles anymore. And Ray on Facebook says, I tried to fix my marriage the last 9 years of it, but when she asked me to leave, I was ready. Ray, exactly. Listen,
Yeah.
sometimes marriage doesn't work out, but 9 years you tried. Well, we're talking about those who's like the first fight, and next day one person leaves the house, and day after that they're at court trying to get a divorce, getting lawyers or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if it's something where one person or the other did make a mistake, I mean, you're married, you made a commitment to each other. Just because somebody, forgot your birthday or forgot something stupid, that's not necessarily a reason for divorce. Sometimes people just get carried away and forget things or whatever else. Minor problems aren't what we're talking about, or sorry, major problems or somebody that has taken an effort to fix things. That's what we're talking about. Because yeah, some things aren't salvageable. You can get to an impasse where things just aren't going to work. Doesn't matter what you're going to do, and then all you can do is try to be as amicable as possible when you split up.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's I'm talking about my grandma a little too much today, aren't I?
Well,
I
your
guess she's
grandma is
with us.
full of wonderful, wise advice. So
Agreed. But this wasn't about marriage, but my grandma would always say, if the result fails, it doesn't mean you did it wrong, because sometimes the start was wrong. I hope that translates to English properly.
made sense.
It does. Okay, good. So that's the thing. We're all human. Eric said something again. I agree with that. Marriage takes three: a man, a woman, and Jesus. It is a
Yeah.
biblical aspect. So we're human. We sometimes pick the wrong person. There is nothing wrong with that. But now, if we did that and we didn't try to work through it or had to turn it nasty, I have this very, very, very strict rule that cheating isn't to sleep with another person. The cheating starts with your head. The first time you thought of someone else aside your spouse, the process has started. Now it's up to you. What are you going to do? Are you going to address it with your spouse? Or are you going to sit on it and fantasize until it becomes an action? And, you have committed to sin. You broke your spouse's heart. You broke their trust. They're going to struggle for the rest of their life of, is the next person cheater? The whole thing starts right here. This is where we have problem going back to logic versus emotion. We're constantly working here. This is kind of on vacation. Michael, most people out there nowadays, their brain is on full on vacation.
Yep. Yeah, most people haven't re-engaged in a while, and I think that's just because it's been for the last several years, it's been a nonstop news cycle that we never get any relief. There's never any downtime. There's always the new hotness.
Yes, and yes, Scott, I will agree. As much as it breaks my heart to say this, I think we are at a point where political views plays a huge role. There is no way, like me myself, I don't think I could last more than 10 minutes on a simple date with a progressive liberal. Not because I think they're bad people. It's just that I can't handle their opinion. I'm like, punch coming your way. Yes, sadly, that happens. Politics is playing a role in relationships, friendships, and marriages nowadays.
Well, I just saw an update to a story we talked about earlier that
Mhm.
shows you where society is now. I guess they just had an interview with LA's mayor and asked her about the lack of water and the fires burning out of control, and she ran away from the reporters.
Are you kidding me?
No, no.
Wow. Well, wow. Okay, great note to wind down. Shout out to everybody, guys. This was awesome. I just got an update from Restream that we surpassed 100 comments. So thank you for engaging, guys. We appreciate that. And I know I didn't get to read every single 100 or some, but I'll do better next time.
But trust me, guys, it's hard to get to all of them. They go flying off the screen before you can see them sometimes. So we'll get better at it. They're supposed to be linked up here too, but for some reason they're not coming in. But we'll get this resolved by
Yes.
next week.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. That was my bad, Michael. So I linked up the comments into Restream instead of Rumble Studio. So
Oh, that's funny.
right. So we got to make sure you're logged in to Restream to see the comments as well. Also, again, we are live right now, and every day is starting tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. You can catch Michael Lauber and Derek Evans with their show, The Insurrection, every morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on all of these channels. What are these channels? You can find on X. There are two channels, which is X America News, all one word, at X America News is where we will be. They will be. I will be. We will be. Everybody will be. Go follow that page on my X account, which is Live Up to Freedom, all one word. We are on a Rumble on Ludob's Media and also ACU News. We're on two YouTube channels, which is Live Up to Freedom and ACU News. We're on my Facebook page. I think that's about it. If I missed a channel, you tell me, Michael, did I miss a channel?
I think we got them all covered.
Sheesh. Yeah, I think that's 7 channels.
Yeah, and I also wanted to invite everybody this Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Derek and I will be doing a Q&A with special guest Brandon Strock. We've got a lot to talk about related to J6 and what's going to happen with the defendants there going forward. We're going to be taking your questions, and you can go to patriot.tv under the insurrection, and you can either become a Patriot TV defender and help support the network, or there is an option to buy a one-day pass to attend the event if you'd like. And use the code insurrection, you'll get a substantial discount.
Yes, actually, just go to patriot.tv. Right there on the homepage, right next to the live stream player, there's a banner. You click on it, it takes you to where you can register for Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Derek Evans, Michael Lauber, and Brandon Straka. Straka. Do we say the A at the end of last name? Strzok?
It's Strzok. He'll answer to either, but yeah, it's Strzok.
Yes. Yes, I'll be there. Well, not on camera. I'll be there listening to you guys and probably asking 5 million questions. And then last but not least, lutfstudio.com. That's lutfstudio.com. Lots and lots of new inventory coming within next few days. I think close to almost 80 pieces of new diamond paintings, resin art, lots of dominoes, crosses
Oh yeah.
coming up. So make sure to head over to LUTF Studio. And the reason we ask for this is me and Michael, we don't have producers. This is what we do. We do it ourselves, and it doesn't take millions, but it does take time during the day to do this, which then we're not working and then we're not making money, and then bills could be pushed behind. So if you enjoy what we're doing, there are so many ways to support us. Any last thoughts, Michael, before we wrap up the first episode of he said, she said?
Just I want to thank the audience for joining us tonight, and if you guys have questions, suggestions for topics, anything like that, feel free to send them in. We do try to review everything as quickly as we can. Can't always read everything on air, but we do try to. But we do read all the comments, and any emails, suggestions, things like that are always appreciated.
Yes, and we're working toward putting everything under one umbrella, but live up to freedom at gmail.com. I monitor that. And very, very dear friend of mine who's like a sister to me, she also monitors it. So if I miss it, she'll catch it. Live up to freedom at gmail.com. Suggestions for topics. I don't know if you have a video locally from your area that you want us to cover, anything. Um, Send them in to live up to freedom at gmail.com. Um, thank you. Hey, Miriam is on the chat. Hey, Miriam.
Hey,
Um,
Miriam Shaw.
Actually, you will be able on the X account of X America News
Yep.
starting next week on Thursday, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch Miriam Shaw with her show, Mission for Freedom. So, yeah, that's another show that will be added to this very X account. And that's it for us. You'll see me and Michael back on He Said, She Said. No, I got to do it. He said, she said.
I got to figure out
Sounds
which.
so
Okay.
obnoxiously annoying. He said, she said.
Yeah, I got to figure out which side you're on. You're on this side, so I got to do the opposite I do in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. We will be back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So you have a full week to send us whatever questions, comments, suggestions, videos, links, articles, whatever you want us to tap into. And you bring yourself back, please, because today was amazing, Michael. More than 100 comments. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a great start for a great program. And again, like we keep saying, we want the audience to be a part of this. We want your feedback. We want your questions and commentary. And we want to make you a part of this show as much as we possibly can.
Yes, yes, yes. And if you believe in a good cause, send us the information and we will promote them. Because this
Yeah.
is about local action. This is about we the people. This is about human society that shapes our future. So you hear about a local action or a cause or a church that's doing the right thing, let us know about them and we make sure to either cover their story, put their link out, bring them on the show. I don't know. The sky is
Yeah.
the limit.
And if it's here, like in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, somewhere nearby, we might even try to get out there and do something in person to help highlight whatever it might be.
As soon as somehow the 10
Yeah.
inches of the snow melts from my
Yeah.
driveway.
Once the snow melts. Yeah. Right. So maybe not in the next 2 weeks, but at some point after that.
I am not shoveling 10 inches of the snow from my driveway, so I'm just going to wait for it until it melts on its own. I don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah. And I hate to tell you this, but it's all ice underneath now. At least it is at my house. So.
Yes, but that's okay. It's just a couple of days and worst case scenario, I might just plug a heater on it. No, I won't do that. It's a bad joke. I need to remember our audience are not as familiar as with my bad jokes as you are, so I need to be careful of what I say on air. Okay, no, seriously, we're gonna go. We have been on air for 1 hour 17 minutes, and that was awesome. Michael, as always, thank you. Make sure to tune in tomorrow 11 a.m. because you will see Derek Evans and Michael Lauber, and then I'll see you later at 7 p.m. tomorrow. All stay
Yeah.
safe.
Thanks again, everyone.
Bye.